Hello out there, and in front of you today is a knife from Schrade, and this is most likely the first Schrade knife I think I've ever had on this channel, and it's the only one I've owned in quite some time. You know, when I first started collecting knives years ago, I had a number of Schrades because they were really budget friendly, and I was able to get a number of different designs in my hands at a low cost in order to learn about the types of knives I was going to be into. But it seems that as time has gone on, that Schrade has really started to focus and do some very good things with fixed blades. And while I do have some fixed blades, I don't really collect them the way I do folders. So I just never really, picked up very many more Schrades. And I missed this one. It came out a couple years ago. And I'm glad that I came across it a couple months ago because I'm really happy to have it. And this is the SCH602TI. And the TI stands for titanium because what we have here is a titanium Framelock with D2 tool steel, which is a pretty big departure from Schrade. And at a price point of $70, I thought it would be a good one to pick up. And so here we are. And we're going to go through the specs, do a review today, and then I will go over, all of the recommendations and opinions that I have concerning this knife and who this knife might be for. Because I think this might be, for a lot of people, a gateway knife, and I'll get into what that means in a bit. But let's go back to the packaging for a quick second because there were a couple extras in the packaging that I want to bring to your attention. So not only with this knife do you get the standard pocket clip that is shipped on the knife, you get an extra one. And the extra one is actually the one that I have put on the knife, and the clip in my hands is the one that is on the knife when it is shipped. I wasn't aware that this was going to happen. It was just an extra clip that was in the box and doesn't really change things all that much in terms of shape, but it is pretty cool to have the option. So neat little add-on there. And then there's also a Torx driver in the box, little mini Torx driver. Always cool to have an extra one of these to put in a pack or in a bag. So if you are on the go and you get a loose pivot screw or something, you can always do a repair on the fly. Good to have that. And then last but not least, there is this little bit of literature that says this product contains chemicals known to the state of California to cause cancer and birth defects or other reproductive harm. I do not know what chemicals those are that they are referring to, but I do know that here in the great state of Florida, we do not have that level of concern for our citizens. So we will just press on with the review. All right, guys, so let's talk about this knife. All right, what we have is an 8-inch overall length with about a 3.5-inch blade length of D2. All right, and before we really get into the materials, I want to take a moment to just talk about how attractive this knife looks. Because I would have picked this knife up whether it was an 8CR13 MOV or any other steel or any other frame material as long as it had this shape, because I think that the lines of this knife are extremely attractive. It's just a really appealing knife, and I'm surprised I missed it when it came out because, like I said, it is exactly the kind of shape that I don't know, I'm just drawn to. So, really happy with the look of the knife overall. And then when we get into the blade, what we have, like I said, that 3.5-inch cutting edge. D2 is one of my absolute favorite steels. I love the fact that it does not have the corrosion resistance, but it still isn't that bad when it comes to that. Everybody calls it a tool steel and is really worried about, D2 is going to rust on you. But it's pretty close to being stainless when you look at the chemical composition. So all you've got to do is just maintain it a little bit better than your stainless steels, and the reward is definitely worth the risk when it comes to the way this retains its edge. And this knife here has a hollow grind on it, which is great. And another thing that I really like when you're dealing with steels that have a high wear resistance. I really like a good hollow grind, even though generally speaking, a hollow grind might lose its edge faster than a flat grind. It will slice and perform, and get really sharp and work really well for you until it does. And with a steel like D2, you still shouldn't have a problem with it losing its edge quickly. So really like the hollow grind aspect and just the overall blade shape, like I said. Very good. All right, and then as we move back, you can see this titanium frame. It's really nicely milled out. I was concerned when I saw pictures of it that, because this knife is still produced in China and that, there might be some fit and finish issues, that this would be really sharp here, but it's not. It's actually really good and grippy. So happy with the frame itself. We do have open frame construction and some very good jimping. Let's try to get that brought up to the camera, and I will show you how that fits in the hand in just a minute, but the jimping is really nice on that. Our pocket clip is 2-position, tip up or tip down. I will bring back this second pocket clip. I don't really think it makes a difference really in the carry, to be honest with you. It might just be a look thing. It's not really going to affect how the knife carries in the pocket, whether you have one clip or the other. But, I mean, again, that option is pretty neat to have. And then when we talk about functionality, the Framelock locks up really nicely. It's superb, no movement any way at all. But there is not an insert. So we do have the titanium directly against our blade, so there is a little bit of lock stick, and I'll get back to that when I talk about fit and finish. As far as what this blade is running on, you can see we have Teflon washers. Not my favorite. I know for a lot of people out there, it's not their favorite either. Everybody would generally prefer bearings or bronze, but it's extremely smooth. It's extremely smooth, and I know that the Teflon won't hold up over time and over use the way some of the other washers might, but I really don't have a problem with it at all. It functions just fine. Not going to free drop or anything, but I wasn't really expecting it to anyway, and I don't need it to, so yeah, so no worries when it comes to that. And then let's look at this knife in the hand. Ergonomically, it is on point. Really, really good. Even if you have larger hands than I do, which you probably do, it should work out pretty well for you as well. The jimping is just great. I like how it continues from the frame right up to the blade itself. Very grippy, and then it would also work if you do have to choke up. You have this ramp going down where the thumb will fit just fine. Nice for cutting tasks when you choke up a little bit. And then you could, I'm sure, really get extreme with it. And this isn't really going to bother you either. No real hot spots when it comes to any of these grip configurations. So really good job on the basics. And I think that's the big takeaway here, is that all of the basics, the materials, the structure, the design are good. Really good on this knife. And so when you're looking at it at the $70 price point, yes, pretty darn good. But there are some things that make it not perfect, and there are some fit and finish issues. And so let's just talk about those briefly right here. So getting back to the lockup here, there is that lock stick, and it's not all the time. And if you've experienced lock stick before with titanium, you know what I mean. Sometimes it's just very difficult to disengage the locking mechanism because the titanium sticks to the blade. Sometimes it doesn't, sometimes it does. So what I will say when it comes to that is that my worry over time is that the amount of force and pressure that I have to put on the frame here to disengage it might end up warping it. That's my big concern, is that, pushing it, I might overextend it at some point and then lose the quality of the lockup that I have now. So that is a concern when it comes to the lockup. Number 2 concern, well, not really a concern, but sort of a qualm, is I would prefer to carry this knife tip up. You can see I've got it configured for tip down. And the reason for that is that as cool as it is to have 2 different clips, the milling here with this replacement tab, it just doesn't fit right. Titanium is really hard to work with, and the fit and finish on these holes and screws for moving the clip back and forth just really isn't conducive to getting it done. And I tried to move it to tip up configuration, and the clip just didn't fit in right. So, it's just one of those things, I guess, with titanium that you really have to be on point with it because, it is hard to work with. And while they did a pretty good job with the frame itself, and all of that milling, just the pocket clips, just not particularly great. So I did have to leave it tipped down, which, not great, but, it's not really gonna kill you, but it certainly isn't the best thing. So, when you're looking at this knife overall, what you notice then are, like I said, They're really good qualities and pretty good materials, but it's still made in a place that focuses on budget knives. So it comes in at $70, which is very affordable, but you're not going to expect the really high level of quality that you would from other titanium frame locks that will cost twice as much. And so, who is this for? I would say this is a fantastic gateway knife. And what I mean by gateway knife is if you purchase this knife, let's say that you are in a position that I was a few years ago, where my most expensive knife was a Kershaw Leek, and I'm trying to see what other kinds of knives I'm into, and I'm going to make a bigger purchase and get into a titanium frame lock. If you purchase this knife and this is your first titanium frame lock, it is going to put you on a slippery slope, because after holding this knife, all I want to do is keep getting like more higher end titanium frame locks, because this gives you a taste of what else is out there, basically. And Schrade does a good job doing that. It provides a good knife and good materials at a pretty affordable price for the materials. So I'm extremely happy with that, and there is a lot of value here. Again, the concern long term is just with this lock bar and if that's going to hold up. I have zero concerns, though, with Schrade's warranty, because I know that they do a great job taking care of all of their customers. So if something were to happen, I know that they'd be on top of it and have my back. So there's that. But again, if you're looking at all of the different knives that you could purchase in the $70 price range, this one probably has a good amount of value. And again, if you're trying to get into maybe a titanium frame lock, or you've never used D2, this is a good way to do it at a pretty affordable price, and you still have a really good knife to work with. So kudos to Schrade, a good offering from them. Certainly moving forward, would like to see more options. I think this line had 2 or 3 different knives in it, so pretty cool to see, and I would like to see a whole lot more of it going forward. One last thing that I always forget to do, so if you're still watching, here are a couple size comparisons. I'll bring a couple other knives out. Here is the Spyderco Alcyone, and I've got a mini grip on the table. And then one last thing, what I'm carrying today actually, the ZT0770CF. All right, so a little bit of size comparison there. This is a pretty good big size knife. Again, like it a lot. I definitely recommend it to someone who is trying to get into maybe a titanium frame lock, or is looking to get D2 for the first time. If you like more higher end knives and you've already got a bunch of stuff in these kind of materials, maybe this one wouldn't be for you, because you'll think of it as a step down. But for a good materials knife that you can use, yeah, this is a good option. So thanks for watching, guys. Any questions, comments, complaints, suggestions, as always, let me know down below. I appreciate hearing from you, and I will talk with you soon. Take care.